الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد قد أفلح المؤمنون الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون قال الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم صلوا كما رأيتموني أصلي. My brothers, before I start today, if you can fill up the ask you brothers to fill the gaps at the front, and so the brothers can join at the back, inshallah. So come forward, my brothers, fill in the gaps. My brothers, today's khutbah is on Salah itself, something which is very fundamental to us as believers, something we perform 5 times a day. And many of us complain or have this thing that I pray but I don't see much change. And we perform this action to get closer to Allah, but sometimes we find that maybe we're not getting close to Allah. And this is what I want to examine today, because it is crucial. It is a lifeline for the believers to have that connection with Allah. And when that connection isn't as it should be, and when we feel that there's something is missing, even though I'm praying but it's not happening for me, then we need to examine our salah itself and look at it a bit more deeply and ask, what is it that's not happening? What am I not doing within my salah itself? Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli." He said, pray the way you see me pray. The unfortunate thing, my brothers, as soon as we hear that, in our minds starts the debate. Do I hold my hand here? Do I hold it here? Do I do rafadain? Is it 3 rakats? Is it 2 rakats? So the fiqhi aspects, the form of the salah becomes the overriding discussion and debate. That the form of the salah overtakes everything. And you'll find on YouTube, my brothers, just type in how to pray and you'll see there's a huge debate about what is the most authentic way of praying. But my brothers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, my brothers, focuses on something far more deeper, far more fundamental to salah than the form itself. Even the 5 salah is not mentioned in the Quran. Allah talks about something far more deeper, something which if it is missing, then the salah is just a hollow shell, an empty vessel. When you knock on it, it will echo. It's like that. It has no weight. And this is what I want to talk to you about today, my brothers. For myself and for yourselves as well, to benefit from, inshallah. Before I go into this topic, just want to tell a story from the hadith. Happened when Rasulullah was in the Masjid al-Nawawi, and a man came into the masjid to pray. And the man prayed. And as he was leaving, he said salam to the Prophet. And the Prophet said to him, Irji' fasalli wa innaka lam tusalli. Go and pray. Go and pray again. Because you haven't prayed. So this man went back and he prayed again. And again he tried to leave the masjid by greeting the Prophet, and the Prophet said, go back. You haven't prayed. The man went back again and he prayed again. And again he attempted to leave the masjid by giving greeting to the Prophet, and the Prophet said, you haven't prayed, go back. And at that point man said, look, I don't know. Teach me. And Rasulullah said to him, read what comes easy for you from the Quran. Then bow until you're comfortable. Until you're comfortable in your bowing, in your ruku'. And then he said, stand up straight. Straighten your back. Then he says, prostrate until you're comfortable. And then he says, sit, do the julus until you're comfortable. And then prostrate until you're comfortable. You know, so the Rasul was telling the man, be calm in your salah. Perform the actions, perform them in their proper way. Give the haqq of each movement its proper haqq and decide what comes easy for you. So my brothers, in this story lies the secret to salah. The secret to connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran itself says, قَدْ أَفْلَهَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. He says, successful indeed are the believers, those who offer their salah with all seriousness and full submissiveness. Khashi'un. Just remember this word, my brothers, the khashi'un. Allah is referring to those who have khushu, and they are called the khashi'un. Another ayat, Allah says, حافظوا على صلوات وصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. Maintain with care the prayers, and in particular the middle prayers, and stand before Allah devoutly obedient. Qaniteen. Also those who have khushu are the qaniteen. Then Allah says in another ayat, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. That indeed salah is a heavy duty, except for those who are the khashi'un. Those who have khushu, for them it's easy, but for everybody else it's a burden, it's a struggle. And I tell you one thing, my brothers, I worked with a brother, and we used to work in the city, and I could roll my chair back and fall into the prayer room, and he used to sit next to me. He used to do 2-hour gym at lunchtime. Big lad, big muscles. But when I used to say to him, let's go and pray, he said, oh brother, I don't have the time, like I've got meetings. So this ayat, when I heard this ayat, my brothers, it just reminded me that you could lift all the heaviest weights in the world, you could run 10K, but salah for some people, because it's something which, as Allah says, if you don't have khushu, my brothers, if you're not the khashi'un, you will find it hard. It will be difficult to get out of bed at Fajr. It will be difficult at lunchtime when you got meetings stacked up and you got to do the gym and the meeting. Sometimes salah gets sacrificed, my brothers, in that. So having khushu, my brothers, will make the performing the salah very easy. Would allow us to perform the salah with ease and comfort. So my brothers, what is khushu, my brothers? What is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran keeps on reminding us that you've got to have khushu. And it's unfortunate, my brothers, this is another thing that I personally find, that we teach our children how to pray. We teach them Surah Fatiha, we teach them the Surah, we teach them Ruku, we teach them Sujood. But how many of us, when we went to madrasa, how many of us were taught how to achieve khushu? How many of your children that you've sent to madrasas, my brothers, when they come home and they've learned the salah, ask them, what has the ustad? And this is not having a go at the madrasa, my brothers, because we got to force it upon change within our community. Because if salah is so fundamental, and khushu is what attaches us to Allah, then how can we not teach our children? It cannot be a black heart, my brothers. It cannot be just for the Sufis to achieve. It is for every one of us to achieve khushu. So therefore it has to be taught. You've got to teach. There's a method, there is a way, there is a technique of achieving khushu, my brothers. And it has to be taught to our children, and us ourselves, we've got to practice it, because without practice, khushu cannot be achieved. And it is not something that you attain once and that's it stays. You've got to keep at it to maintain it and to elevate it. So khushu, my brothers, is when you stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to pray, and you empty your heart. And you stand in full submissiveness, complete obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you leave everything behind, my brothers. When we entered, we should have left the dunya behind us. And now we are in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are about to perform salah. And this is the state of khushu, my brothers. And in the salah, being attentive, being focused on the salah, and knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, performing a salah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is observing. And we're standing in front of Allah. And it is a direct communication with Allah in Salah. There is no barriers between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my brothers, when we are standing, and there should be khawf and hope, raja, because we're standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the master of the day of Qiyamah, the creator of everything within the universe, the all-powerful. We're standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we also should stand with hope that Allah will forgive us, give us reward for our salah. So this is the state that the believers should be when they are standing on the prayer mat, my brothers. And this is a means to achieving khushu, my brothers, when we empty our hearts and we're completely focused on our salah, my brothers. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, my brothers, the 5 prayers which Allah has made obligatory, he said that whoever does wudu properly for them, prays them on time, does the ruku and sujood properly, and has perfect khushu, then he says it is a promise from Allah that he will be forgiven. And whoever does not do this has no such promise. If Allah wishes, He will forgive him, and if He wishes, He will punish him. So there is a punishment, my brothers, those who do not achieve the khushu, do not do the salah on time, and do not perform the ruku and the sujood properly, my brothers. In another hadith, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it says, "Inna rajul la yansarifu." A man will return from his salah, like we have come today, my brothers. We have made effort. We have left our jobs, our work, our study, and we have come to Jumu'ah. And we will return, and this is the warning, my brothers. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, وَمَا كُتِبَ لَهُ. Nothing will be written for him. No reward will be written for him, even though he's prayed. إِلَّا عُشْرُهُ, maybe a 10th, maybe a 9th, maybe a 8th and a 7th, or a 5th, or maybe a half. That you will perform your salah today, my brothers. Some of us will perform our salah, maybe not leave with nothing today. Maybe 1/10 of what we should have received, maybe a half at best. So this is the warning, my brothers. The Rasul said that people will pray, but they won't get their full reward, because the khushu, my brothers, is missing in the salah. And another hadith, my brothers, Rasul he said, the Messenger of Allah he said, verily the worst thieves amongst the people. And the Sahaba asked, when Rasul told the Sahaba that some people will steal from their salah, Sahaba were a bit confused. He said, how can you steal from your salah? And this is where Rasul explained. He said, verily the worst thieves amongst the people are those who steal from their prayers. And he said, they do not complete their bowing or its prostration properly. How many people have you seen, my brothers, don't perform the ruku properly? They don't do their sujood properly. How many people have you seen as you walk past them, their eyes are moving, watching people around them? How can khushu be achieved when these actions, these are the fundamentals of the salah, if they're not done properly, with khushu, with carefulness, with obedience? And Imam Taymiyyah, he said that whoever pecks like a crow, when you sort of give, there's food or breadcrumbs on the floor, on the ground, you see the pigeons and the hens, they peck the ground. How many, Imam Taymiyyah is saying, there are people who peck the ground, their sujood is like a pecking of the ground, like the hen, like the crow. So my brothers, these are the great ulama who have seen the problems within the ummah, and they've tried to sort of send powerful imagery to deter people from doing that, from pecking the ground and from stealing from their own salah, my brothers. We've got to achieve the salah, my brothers. And I don't have a lot of time, my brothers, but I will just touch on how to achieve some pointers for all of us to benefit from, how to achieve khushu, my brothers, how to focus on our salah. And one of the things, my brothers, is that we need to create the right environment for Salah. And if you've traveled to the old cities in the Muslim world, my brothers, like Damascus, like Istanbul, like Cairo, like Baghdad, you will observe that the masjids have a certain particular design. The architects have designed them in a particular way. When you enter the masjid, when I say masjid, when you enter the forecourt, you enter a garden. If you look at the Blue Mosque, there's a garden which leads up to the masjid. There's water. And that, my brothers, has an effect upon not just the believers, just on human beings, on us as beings. Water and nature has an effect upon us. It calms you down. It relaxes you. The flowing, the sound of water relaxes people. The architects, my brothers, put a lot of effort to make those places such that we can achieve khushu. We feel tranquil when we enter these spaces. And then you perform the wudu, my brothers. The wudu, if it's done properly, my brothers, is supposed to cleanse and purify and take us further into the state of khushu. Lead us up to the state of khushu. And the masjids, my brothers, were designed in such beauty that you feel tranquil. You feel at ease within the masjids. So this is why, my brothers, that the space that we have, we need to design them in a way, we need to create those spaces. It's very difficult in a library, but we put the prayer mats on, we put the nice prayer mats down, and we should try our best to create those spaces so that achieving khushu becomes easier for us. And my brothers, we've got to leave the dunya behind. When we stand on the prayer mat, the dunya must be left behind. It cannot be playing within our minds, because it will be a great distraction for us if we don't leave it behind. And then we've got to focus, my brothers, on what is being recited. I know one of our shuyukhs who gives the khutbah here, he keeps on reminding us before the salah, he said, those who understand what's being said, focus on the words and sort of understand. And if you don't understand the Arabic, just listen carefully. Listen to the recitation. So my brothers, we all must be students of the Arabic language. Doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter how young you are, every one of us should try and move a step closer to understanding the direct communication from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't need an interpreter in between. We don't need a medium, an English translation, or Urdu translation, or a Bangla translation, or in between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should strive, my brothers. There should be a striving within the ummah. We should not feel comfortable that I can just read the Quran. We should try and understand, learn, so that when we're standing in Salah, my brothers, when we read in Surah Fatiha, we know exactly what we're saying. And they are such powerful words. Praise be to Allah. Maliki yawmiddin, iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. We're making dua, my brothers, within that. We're pleading with Allah to help us, to guide us. We're praising Allah. And what happens, my brothers, when we don't understand and we repeat, often we repeat it, it becomes an automatic thing. And for many people, my brothers, Salah becomes a checklist. Like we have task checklist. Done this task, done that email, sent that letter, met this, been to that meeting, tick, tick, tick. Salah becomes a ticking exercise. I've done Fajr, done Dhuhr, done Asr, done Maghrib, done Isha. Alhamdulillah, now I'm a free man. I can sleep now. It should not be a checklist, my brothers. Salah cannot be a checklist. It is something that we should look forward to. And that feeling and that attachment to it comes when we understand what we're doing, what we're reciting. The beautiful Quran, the ayat of the Quran, we need to learn, we need to understand, we need to study the translations, we need to study the Arabic so that we know what we're saying. And we get this connection, we have this feeling with the Quran, and in the Salah, we're bound by it. And one other thing, my brothers, we as human beings, we're weak, we're feeble, and we will lose focus. We will lose focus in Salah. But what do you do when you lose focus? When you realize your mind has wandered somewhere else, maybe gone around the world while you're standing in Salah, my brother. What do you do at that point when you find out that my mind has wandered? As soon as you realize, my brothers, pull yourself back into the Salah. Focus on the Salah again. And over time, my brothers, and I can tell you from experience, over time, that practice of pulling yourself back when you lose focus, over time, we will inshallah get to a state where we can stand in Salah maybe for hours without losing focus. Like the great Anbiya, like the great predecessors, like our great ulama, that they can pray for hours, read the Quran, do a khatam, and that they can keep focus. This is through practice, my brothers. So we need to realize, as soon as we realize we've lost focus, we bring ourselves back back to the Salah, my brothers. So my brothers, to conclude, my brothers, we all want change. We want change within ourselves. We want change within our families. We want change within this ummah, my brothers. But that change can come when we connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because Allah can change anything and everything, my brothers. And if our Salah is good, my brothers, if our Salah is solid, and it is one where there is Khushu, my brothers, we will see change within ourselves, within our families. Because we see, my brothers, so many people, they have that mark on their forehead, but they're involved in corruption, my brothers. The Salah has no impact when this Khushu is missing, my brothers. And I personally, my brothers, I've met somebody back home, land dispute, went into the office, mashallah, when I saw the beard and the tupi and the mark, I thought, now, alhamdulillah, I will get somebody who will deal. He said, pay my son in London and I'll do the deal here. So my brothers, Salah, as I said, it's not just a task that we do and Allah will forgive me because I just performed it, my brothers. Salah must have an impact upon our actions. The way we behave, the way we are, the way we think has to change if we are doing our Salah. If there is no change, then obviously the Salah is not being performed properly, because the Salah keeps us away from the fahsha, should take us away from it. If it's not, my brothers, then there is a problem. If we're not edging away from it, away from shaitan, then we have a problem. This is why, my brothers, I raised this topic today, that if we really want to see change, then we've got to bring back khushu within our Salah. It is not just the form, my brothers. The inner state, the heart has to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is where khushu resides, within the heart, deep within us. And we've got to work towards achieving this. آخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأمين. أما بعد، فيا معشر المسلمين، أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال الله تعالى في كتاب الكريم: إن الله ملائكة يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد بعدد من صلى وصام. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد بعدد من قعد وقام. اللهم صل على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى سائر الصحابة والتابعين وعلى عبادك الصالحين. اللهم أيد الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم أيد الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واجعلنا منهم، واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا منهم. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه، وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم ثبتنا على الإسلام. اللهم ثبتنا على الإسلام. اللهم نور قلوبنا بنور الإيمان. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع مجيب الدعوات. عباد الله رحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. أقيموا الصلاة.